everyone, welcome to our Boost TOEFL Complete TOEFL IBT Masterclass. Today we are going to break down everything about the new TOEFL IBT test, all basic information, task types, scoring rules, registration steps, and more. This is a full course for TOEFL beginners. So if you are new to this test, just follow my pace, and you will get a clear understanding of all the key points by the end of this class. Let's get started. First, let's take a look at what we will cover in this masterclass. As you can see on the slide, we will start with the most basic test information of the new TOEFL IBT, then move on to the test process, followed by a detailed explanation of new TOEFL scores. After that, we will go through each section's task types one by one. This is the most important part. Finally, we will finish with the test registration process and common frequent asked questions. Every part is designed to help you fully grasp the new TOEFL IBT, so don't miss any key details. Now, let's dive into the basic test information, the fundamental part of the new TOEFL IBT. First, the test contents. It still has 4 core sections: reading, listening, writing, and speaking. A key point here is that reading and listening sections are designed as 2-stage adaptive tests, and the topics of these 2 sections cover both daily and academic content, while writing and speaking are non-adaptive, which we will explain later. Then the test format. It's a computer-based test with dual camera proctoring. You have 2 options to take the test, either at home or at a test center, and the choice mainly depends on the specific requirements of your target institution. Next, the total test duration. It's around 2 hours in total, and this time includes the microphone and the volume checks for the listening and speaking sections. The whole process is much shorter than the old TOEFL IBT, which is a good news, but it also means you need to keep up with its fast pace. Let's continue with the other basic test information about scoring and score validity. First, scoring. The new TOEFL IBT is primarily machine scored with human oversight, which means most of the scoring is done by a computer, and human raters will double-check to ensure the fairness of the scores. Score reporting time is a big highlight here. Your scores will be released within 72 hours after test, which is much faster than the old version. You won't have to wait for weeks to get your result. For the score report, from now on to January 2028, there are 2 score scales provided, a 6-point scale and a 120-point scale. Your scores are first calculated on a 6-point scale, then mapped to the 120-point scale. And the total score is a weighted average of the 4 section scores. But after January 2028, there will be only the 6-point scores on your score report. Finally, score validity. Your TOEFL scores are valid for 2 years from the test date, so you have plenty of time to send your scores to your target schools after you take the test. Now, let's talk about the adaptive test design of the new TOEFL IBT. This is one of the most important features, so pay close attention. First, 2 key rules. Only the reading and the listening sections use adaptive tests, and these 2 sections are independent from each other, meaning your performance in reading won't affect the difficulty of the listening section, and vice versa. The writing and speaking sections have no adaptive design, so their difficulty is fixed for all test takers. So what's the adaptive design exactly? It's a difficulty adaptation across different stages and different question types. The reading and listening sections both have 2 stages. Stage 1 is the router module, and Stage 2 is divided into upper and lower difficulty modules. As you can see on the slide, the test will assign you to the upper or lower stage in stage 2 based on your performance in stage 1. Also, note that in reading and listening sections, Module 1 may contain unscored questions, which we'll explain in the next page. This page is all about unscored questions or pre-test questions. Many test takers are confused about this part, so let's clarify it step by step. First, what are unscored questions? They are tryout questions used by ETS for quality control and other operational purposes, and they do not count towards your final score. But the key point is you can't tell which questions are unscored. So you have to answer every question carefully as if it's a scored one. Don't slack off on any question. Now, the key details. Unscored questions only appear in stage 1 of the reading and listening sections. Reading section can contain a maximum of 15 unscored questions, while listening section may include up to 12. The exact number is not fixed, so don't waste time trying to identify them during the test. Every test taker will complete a specific test path, which consists of one router module and one second stage module, either upper or lower. So for both reading and listening, there are only 2 possible test paths, which is not as complicated as you might think. Let's move on to the reading section and take a look at the difference in task types between upper and lower difficulty in stage 2, as well as the question distribution of stage 1. As you can see from the table on the slide, stage 1 has 3 task types: complete words, read in daily life, and read an academic passage. If there is no pretest questions, their number of questions will be 10, 5, and 5. If pretest questions are included, the number here in bracket shows the flexible range of the questions. For stage 2 lower, it still has complete words and read in daily life, but no read in academic passage. For stage 2 upper, it has complete words and read an academic passage, but no read in daily life. This is the core difference. Lower levels focuses on daily reading tasks, while upper level replace that with academic reading tasks, which is a logical difficulty upgrade for test takers who perform well in stage 1. Now, for the listening section, we'll look at its task type differences between upper and lower levels in stage 2, just like the reading section. First, stage 1 has 4 task types: listen and choose a response, listen to a conversation, listen to an announcement, and listen to academic talk. Again, if there is no pretest question, their number of questions will be 8, 4, 4, and 4. If pretest questions are included, the number in the bracket shows the flexible range of the question. Stage 2 lower includes listen and choose a response, listen to a conversation, listen to an announcement, and no listen to academic talk, with a total of 15 questions. Stage 2 upper has listen and choose a response, listen to a conversation, listen to academic talk, and no listen to an announcement, also with a total of 15 questions. You can see the pattern here. Upper level reduces the simple daily listening task and increases the number of hard academic talk questions, which is how the test assesses your true academic listening ability. This slide shows the official test process of the new TOEFL IBT. The sections are in a fixed order: reading first, then listening, followed by writing, and finally speaking. For the old TOEFL, speaking section is taken before the writing, but in the new TOEFL IBT, the two sections have switched their position. As mentioned before, based on your performance in stage 1 of reading and listening sections, you will either go to the upper or lower level in stage 2. Now let's talk about the most concerned part for all test takers, the score conversion between the 1 to 6 point scale and the 1 to 120 point scale. As you can see from the detailed table on the slide, each score on the 6-point scale corresponds to a score range on the 120-point scale for each section, and also a total score range. For example, a 6 on the 6-point scale means 29 to 30 for reading and writing, 28 and 30 for listening and speaking, and the total score is 114 plus. A 5.5 corresponds to a total score of 107 plus. A 5 is a 95 plus, and so on. This table is your score goal cheat sheet, and you can mark your target score on the scale and set clear practice goals for each section. If you take a TPO test, which is the official mock test for TOEFL IBT, you will only see the total score based on the 120 scale, but no 120-point scale for each section. In addition, a no score result will be triggered by abnormal test-taking behavior, audio recording failures, or overly short responses in the speaking section. And the same thing can happen in the real test. This page is about score interpretation with CEFR as a benchmark. This is very important because many international schools and institutions list CEFR level requirements. As the table shows, the CEFR levels are perfectly matched to the 6-point scale of the new TOEFL IBT for both each single section and the overall score. Like C2 is the highest level, which represents native-like English proficiency. And C1 is a 5 to 5.5 level, which is the requirement for most top university. B2 is 4 to 4.5, the minimum for most undergraduate programs. You can check the CEFR requirement of your target school first, then convert it to the corresponding TOEFL score. Then let's go to the breakdown of all task types, which is the most important part of this course. So please pay close attention. This slide shows all the task types across the 4 sections of the new TOEFL IBT. Up next, we will go through and break down each task type one by one, starting with the reading section. Now we are breaking down the TOEFL reading sections so you can know exactly what to expect. You've got 30 minutes total for this section, and there are 3 main task types: complete words, read in daily life, and read an academic passage. For complete words, you will fill in the missing letters of words, 10 blanks per task with 1 to 2 tasks in stage 1, and 1 task in stage 2. Reading daily life features short passages on everyday topics with multiple choice questions. 2 to 4 passages in stage 1, 2 passages in stage 2 lower, and none in stage 2 upper. Read an academic passage, use longer academic texts. 1 to 2 passages in stage 1, 1 passage in stage 2 upper, and none in stage 2 lower. Total questions vary. Stage 1 ranges from 20 to 38. Why? As I mentioned before, there will be unscored questions only in stage 1. So only 20 are scored, and there might be 18 more which are unscored, but you don't know which one is scored or which one is unscored. But for both stage 2, upper and lower, there will be exactly 15 questions each, and there are no unscored questions here. Remember, time management is the key here. 30 minutes goes fast, so don't stuck on any one task. For complete words, the requirement is to fill in the missing letters of the words in the paragraph with the text length of 70 to 100 words. Most topics are academic, and the scoring rule is all or nothing. Either your answer is fully correct or incorrect. No partial credit. For the number of questions, stage 1 has 1 scored passage, and there might be one more task which is unscored, and there will be 10 blanks per task. Stage 2 has 1 task with 10 blanks. Blanks always start from the second sentence, and the first blank is usually in the first or second word of that sentence. After that, a blank is set every 1 or 2 words, and the number of missing letters in each word is not fixed. The key skill here is to build your academic vocabulary and spelling ability. For read in daily life, the text length is about 15 to 150 words, with passage type like poster, notice, ads, menus, news reports, and text messages, or daily content. The task format is 4-option multiple choice, and it only appears in stage 1 and stage 2 lower, not in upper. For each passage, there will be only 2 to 3 questions. So this is a relatively simple task, and the key is to quickly grasp the main information of the short passages. For read an academic passage, the text length is about 200 words, with passage type of academic papers, covering topics like history, art, business, life sciences, and social sciences. It's 4-option multiple choice too, but only appear in stage 1 and stage 2 upper, not in lower. For each passage, there will be 5 questions. This is the hard task of the reading section. So you need to practice academic reading to improve your speed and comprehension. Okay, then we are breaking down the listening section. In this section, please remember, all audio clips are played only once, and there's a time limit for every single question. That's why you really need to stay focused during this part. There are 4 main tasks in listening. First, listen and choose a response. This task tests your ability to react appropriately to short, everyday spoken prompts with multiple choice answers. There are 8 to 12 tasks in stage 1, 7 in stage 2 lower, and 3 in stage 2 upper. Next, listen to a conversation. Here, you will listen to a dialogue on common topics like campus life or service requests. Then answer multiple choice questions about details and main ideas. There are 2 to 3 passages in stage 1 and 2 passages in stage 2. Then, listen to an announcement. This task assesses your ability to catch key information from short, informative speeches like campus notice or public service announcements. There are 2 to 4 passages in stage 1, 2 passages in stage 2 lower, and none in stage 2 upper. Finally, listen to an academic talk. You will encounter longer, structured lectures on academic subjects, testing your comprehension of complex ideas and supporting details. There are 1 to 2 passages in stage 1, 2 in stage 2 upper, and none in stage 2 lower. Total questions vary. Stage 1 ranges from 20 to 34 questions. Remember, again, only 20 are scored, and there might be 14 more which are unscored, but you don't know which are scored and which are unscored. So you must pay full attention to all questions during the listening part. But in stage 2, both lower and upper have exactly 15 questions each. For listen and choose a response, the requirement is to choose a proper response to the audio with 4-option multiple choice. The audio only contains 1 sentence with daily topics, and options are visible while listening. For the number of questions, Stage 1 has 8 to 12, Stage 2 lower 7, Stage 2 upper 3. You have 20 seconds to answer each question, and the audio is short, so you need to listen carefully and react quickly. So now let's listen to an example.
Didn't I just see you in the library an hour ago?
And the answer for this one is A. For listen to a conversation, the task format is also multiple choice, with conversations about daily topics like dining, social activities, education, and travel. Stage 1 has 2 to 3 passages, and Stage 2 has 2 passages, with 2 questions each. So it appears in all stages. You have 20 seconds per question, and you can only see the questions and options after listening. So you can try to jot down some keywords. However, if you find it disturbing to take notes while listening, you can also pay all your attention to dialogue and try to memorize the details in your mind. Now, let's listen to an example.
Did you see the maintenance request about the air conditioning?
Yes, I called the technician this morning. They said someone should be here shortly.
That's a relief. It's getting uncomfortably warm in here.
I know, I called as soon as I noticed. Hopefully, it's just a minor issue and they can get it working again without too much delay. In the meantime, why don't you go out to lunch early? Maybe it'll be better when you get back.
Let's see the content here. So you have time to do the 2 questions above. And the answer for question 11 is boy, B. And the answer for question 12 here is dog, D. For listen to an announcement, the text length is about 40 to 85 words, with topics like schedule, route guidance, and school rules. Its question format is multiple choice, with Stage 1 having 2 to 4 passages and Stage 2 lower 2 passages with 2 questions each. No appearance in upper level. You will have 20 seconds per question, and again, questions are only visible after listening. Also, taking notes or not is up to you. Sometimes there will be questions about certain details, so you can jot down some key points while listening. Let's listen to an example.
Good afternoon, everyone. I'm excited to inform you that Dr. Cynthia Palmer, a renowned expert in environmental science, will be giving a guest lecture next Monday at 2 p.m. in Waldman Auditorium. Dr. Palmer will discuss the latest advancements in sustainable energy solutions and their impact on global climate change. Due to her popularity and the high interest in her work, I highly recommend arriving early to secure a seat.
Like I said before, you won't see the question until the audio is finished. Now you have time to do the 2 questions above. The answer for the first one is A. And the answer for the question 2 here will be D. For listen to an academic talk, the text length is about 100 to 250 words, covering academic topics like history, art, life sciences, and business. Stage 1 has 1 to 2 passages, and Stage 2 upper has 2 passages, with 4 questions each. It will not appear in stage 2 lower. You have 30 seconds per question for this task, which is more time because it's the hardest listening task with longer academic content. In this part, note-taking is highly recommended because it will be difficult to remember every detail while listening, and you don't really know what the questions are before listening. You can use abbreviations and symbols to save time on note-taking so that you won't get distracted. Also, we will listen to an example here.
Did you see that new thriller movie that came out last week? I did, and loved it. The action, the plot twists. I was totally captivated. Time just flew by. Not a single thought occurred to me that was unrelated to the movie. What I experienced is what psychologists call hard fascination. Hard fascination means intense focus and concentration. Whether it's TV programs, video games, hard fascination is all too easy to come by in this modern world. There's another type of fascination, soft fascination. There's still effortless attention, meaning that no special effort is required for you to stay focused, but there's still room for other thoughts. When I take a walk in the park and look at the flowers and trees, for example, I might be thinking in the back of my mind about my dinner plans. Now, one thing to know is hard fascination causes mental fatigue. The mind is so intensely focused that it gets tired fast. What follows mental fatigue? You might find yourself easily distracted, irritable, and stressed. Soft fascination, in contrast, engages a different part of the brain, the DMN, or default mode network, which soothes the mind and helps combat mental fatigue. So next time you feel your mind is on overload, turn off the TV, put down your phone. Take a walk, or simply sit and stare at the clouds.
Again, for this question type, you can't see the question when you are listening to the audio. The question will only appear after the audio is finished. So for this one, the answer is very simple. You can choose C here, right? Two types of fascination, hard and soft. And in real test, you will see 4 questions for each passage. Here it is not a complete question list. You can see only one. So now we are breaking down the TOEFL writing section. There are 3 main tasks: build a sentence, write an email, and write for an academic discussion. First, build a sentence. This task tests your ability to construct grammatically complete and coherent sentences using given words. You will need to make 10 sentences, and you have 6 minutes and 50 seconds in total for this part. Then write an email. Here, you will craft a clear, purposeful email based on specific requirements. You will only have 1 task here, and you get 7 minutes to complete it. This task assesses your practical communication skills, so focus on tone, clarity, and cover all the required points. And finally, write for an academic discussion. This is the more advanced task, where you will engage in a structured academic discussion by writing a response to a prompt. You will have 1 task with 10 minutes to complete it. What do you need to know that the scoring system for writing part uses E-rater, the same one currently adopted for the GRE. Rating is mainly done by AI, which determines the overall deduction for your areas based on your actual performance in the test as a whole. For build a sentence, the requirement is to make a complete sentence with the given words, with only 1 correct answer. Sometimes the number of options is 1 to 2 more than the number of blanks, so you need to choose the right words. There are 10 sentences in total, with a total time of 6 minutes and 50 seconds. And the scoring is all or nothing, correct or incorrect, no partial credit. It's all about precision and structure. So make sure each sentence flows logically and uses the word correctly. Grammar is also very important. You need to learn about basic English grammar before you try to make a correct sentence. For write an email, there is one task with 7 minutes to complete. The requirement is to write an email according to the given prompt, with response types like making suggestions, extending invitations, and solving problems. You can only cut and paste your own written content, and the word count is visible on the screen. The key points are to cover all the points mentioned in the prompt. Pay attention to the email format and the appropriate tone. Okay, then let's talk about how your TOEFL writing responses are actually graded. First, you will get a raw mark on a 5-point scale, and this is then converted to your final score on a 6-point scale. The scoring is based on 4 key criteria. First, content. This is all about how well you respond to the prompt and how coherent your writing is, meaning your logic flows smoothly and your idea connect clearly. Second, syntax and lexicon. Here, they will look at how you vary your sentence structures, how rich your vocabulary is, and how accurately you use word collocation. Third, writing conventions. This covers the appropriateness of your tone and for email tasks, whether you follow the correct format. And last one, vocabulary and grammar accuracy. They will check how precisely you use words and grammar rules. Now, a quick note. A small number of spelling mistakes is totally acceptable. The graders don't nitpick every single error. They look at your overall language level to decide how much those mistakes affect your score. You can pause the video to take a look. Now, I want to highlight a few important points. First, communication purpose. When you write an email, you shouldn't just talk about yourself. You need to follow the rules of real communication and make sure your writing is responsive. Second, elaboration. You have to develop around the topic. Irrelevant information is not acceptable, and no elaboration at all will also lower your score. Based on the TPOs, proper elaboration means providing specific examples, which are relevant and concise. Then we go to write for an academic discussion. There will be one task with 10 minutes to complete, which is the most difficult writing task of the new TOEFL IBT. The test form is that the professor outlines a topic and raises questions. 2 students present different positions, and you need to state your own stance and support it with argument. You need to make a contribution to the discussion in your own words and write at least 100 words. This tests your ability to analyze ideas, support argument, and express complex thought in a formal academic style. All right, let's take a look at the scoring criteria for the write for an academic discussion task. First, we have content. This includes how coherent your writing is, meaning your logic and ideas are clear and well connected, and how well you actually complete task. Second, they look at syntax and vocabulary. This means using a variety of sentence structures, having a good range of vocabulary, and using words accurately. Third, they check the accuracy of your vocabulary and grammar. This is about how correctly you use words and grammar throughout your response. And there are 2 more key points I need to emphasize. First, your idea must be relevant to the topic and include clear elaboration. Second, your response should make a real contribution to the academic discussion and help move the conversation forward. Finally, we come to the speaking section, where you will meet two types of tasks. First, listen and repeat. This task tests your pronunciation, intonation, and ability to accurately reproduce spoken sentences you hear. You will see one picture and hear 7 sentences, with 10 seconds to repeat each one. It's all about clarity and accuracy. So focus on mimicking the content and rhythm of the sentences you hear. Then take an interview. This is your last task in the TOEFL test. Congratulations. Here you will listen to interview-style questions and respond orally. You will get 4 questions in total, with 45 seconds to answer each one. This task assesses your ability to organize ideas, speak fluently, and express yourself clearly under time pressure. First, let's look at listen and repeat. There is one task with 7 sentences in total. 10 seconds for each sentence. The requirement is to listen and repeat the sentence you hear. With the scenario progressing, the length and the complexity of the sentences will gradually increase. The 7 sentences are on the same topic, all related to an image on the screen. For each sentence, the highlighted part of the picture will change accordingly. After each sentence, there is a 3-second pause, and you must repeat content in full. Note-taking is not recommended because there is no time for it, and the audio is played only once. The difficulty of this talk is high because it really challenges your ability to short-term memory. And then I will give you 2 examples of a set question. One is short and another is long, and you can try to repeat after you finish the listening.
We have a variety of wildlife. The Visitors Center, located near the front entrance, can give you more information.
And here is the answer. The first audio clip is the first sentence listed below, and the second audio clip is the last sentence in the box. All right, now let's break down the scoring criteria for the listen and repeat. First, we look at fluency. This means how smoothly you speak, your pace, whether you have unnatural pauses, and how much hesitation you show when you are repeating the sentences. Next, we have pronunciation. This is all about how natural and fluent your speech sounds, including your intonation, stress, and overall clarity. Finally, we check the content. This is about how accurately you repeat sentences. Did you get all the words and meaning right? So if you don't do well in terms of fluency, pronunciation, and content, your raw mark for listen and repeat will be low, which will impact your overall speaking score. For take an interview, you will have one task with 4 questions in total, 45 seconds for each question. You will engage in a simulated dialogue with a pre-recorded interviewer, with no preparation time at all. The questions increase in difficulty. The first ones are about describing personal experience, and the later ones require you to express and justify your opinions on broader topics. Some test takers find this take an interview task challenging because there's no preparation time at all, and you have to speak right away. But you can actually use response templates strategically and prepare some reusable points for different types of questions in advance. Now we will listen to an example, and you can try to answer this question. Remember, there's no preparation time. This is one of a set question, one of the 4 questions, so it's not a complete one. Let's skip the answer first and see the video.
Great. Cities affect people in different ways. Some people find cities dynamic and exciting. Others find that cities are overwhelming and drain them of energy. What kind of reaction do you have to cities? Why do you think you react in this way?
Now let's go back to the audio contents. And in the video, the question you heard is this one. Now let's go over the scoring criteria for the take an interview task. First, fluency, how smoothly you speak without too many pauses or hesitations. Second, pronunciation, how clear and natural your speech sounds. Third, language use, your vocabulary choice and grammatical accuracy. And fourth, coherence, how well you organize your idea and use proper linking words to connect your thoughts. If you fail to meet the 4 criteria mentioned, you won't get high scores in Take an Interview. Finally, we are going to talk about the test rules and the logistics. In this part, we will cover registration process and some FAQs. The test registration process, which is simple and straightforward. 4 steps only, and we also add the test fee info on the slide. Step 1, log in. Go to TOEFLIBT.ets.org and create an account. The most critical point, your name on the account must be exactly identical to the name on your passport. No nicknames, no spelling mistakes, otherwise your test score will be invalid. So double check this part. Step 2, select your test. Choose between the online test at home or in-person test at a test center, according to your target institution's requirement and your own situation. Step 3, pay for the test. There are 3 test packages on the slide. The most popular one is the basic TOEFL IBT test with a fee of $283.17 which is just the exam only. The other 2 are premium packages with more practice resources. You can choose according to your prep needs. Step 4, receive the confirmation email. After payment, you will get a confirmation letter with your registration number and detailed test instructions, like test requirements for the at-home test, what to bring for the in-person test. So make sure to check your email in time. So that's all for the registration process. 4 simple steps, no extra hassle. Okay, now let's go through these common TOEFL FAQs one by one to clear up any confusions. First, can I take notes during the test? Yes, you can. At a test center, they will provide you with paper and a pencil. If you are taking the test at home, you will need an erasable marker and either a whiteboard or blank paper inside a transparent sheet protector. However, note-taking is not recommended during the speaking section. Second, does entering the lower level always mean a lower score than the upper level? Not necessarily. There's some overlap in the scoring ranges between the 2 levels. However, the upper level has a higher score ceiling. If your goal is to score a 5 or above, you will definitely need to be placed in the upper level. Third, how many correct answers in reading and listening stage 1 are needed to reach the upper level? There's no fixed number. It depends on the difficulty of the specific test form you take. For example, one test might require 13 correct answers, while another one could require 14. For the exact criteria for advancing to the upper level, stay tuned for our upcoming research and analysis. Fourth, will everyone encounter unscored per-test questions? Yes, every test taker will encounter per-test questions that don't count towards their score. These can appear in both the reading and the listening section, and the number can vary. Fifth, are writing and speaking scored by AI or human writers? The scoring is primarily done by AI models. Human writers are mainly involved in training these models and handling special cases, like when the AI can't evaluate a response. Sixth, are reading and listening scores still available immediately after the test? Yes, you will receive an unofficial score report right after you finish, and this is just for your reference. The official final scores will be released later, which is the same as the unofficial score in most cases. Last one, how far in advance do I need to register? If you register for a test within 7 days of the test day, you will have to pay an extra $49 fee. So it's always best to register well in advance to avoid this extra cost. We've covered everything about the new TOEFL IBT today, from basic test information, adaptive design, and unscored questions, to detailed task types of each section, scoring conversion, registration process, and common FAQs. I believe you now have a comprehensive and clear understanding of the new test. And the key to success in the TOEFL IBT is simple: consistent practice. Focus on the tasks that you find hard, build your academic vocabulary and listening skills. Practice writing and speaking every day, and follow the test pacing we talked about. You will definitely get your target score. This is the end of our TOEFL IBT Complete Masterclass. If you have any other questions after this class, you can leave a message and we will reply as soon as possible. Boost TOEFL will always be here to help you with your TOEFL prep. So please remember to subscribe. Thank you for watching.